I don't know, it just makes me feel better. So this is just a little snapshot of how I start my day. Yeah, it's early. I have a little bit of festive going on. This is really how I start my day. I just get the candles on and the lights on, and I just enjoy the mood. Kind of gets me inspired, and I don't know, it just makes me feel better. So this is just a little snapshot of how I start my day. Yeah, it's early. Actually, I usually get up around 4 o'clock, start my meditation, and just enjoy the quiet time. It's my Christmas cactus. It wouldn't bloom for many years, and after my mother died, it starts to bloom every year about this time, so I just love it. As I start the day, when the sun comes up, it's now fall here, but I open my blinds and bring in the sunlight so I can see outside. Usually in the summer, I have my plants, a bunch of plants there, and I have the tables always with some things on it, and a lot of times I have pieces of art out there drying, but it's fall, and so yeah, the sun just came up. So there's my inspiration right there. Many times I'll sit out there and have a cup of coffee and sometimes draw. This is actually my office, not my studio, my office. My home is actually just about the whole thing is where I work. But this is where I study in the morning, start my day, work on my YouTube channel, videos. But I have a lot of my art in here. It's art influenced. There are my paper paintings, so I flatten them out. This corner over here there's the first painting I ever did with my daughter-in-law years ago. So this is just a inspiration corner over here, painting my mother did. That bird up there, and I did a little bird with her. She loved daisies. And this is my bookcase. These are some of my art books. I have a lot of art books also downstairs in my art room, but these are some of the art books and some of the books I grabbed for inspiration on writing my blogs and my vlogs, books on marketing and self-help and health books. Up there is my resin area. A lot of the things I use, I don't do a lot of resin, but when I do, I pull all my stuff out from up there. So I keep some of my cameras. I do a lot of drawing up here. So there's my drawing utensils. And yeah, so that's that spot. Let's turn around. Again, this is where, up here is where I do my YouTube videos. This is where I change them up, market them, put them together, do a lot of thinking. There's a photograph to remind me to be healthy. That's my healthy photo. Mindset is everything. It's to remind me when I get too busy to stop, drink my water, and just relax. There's my fax machine and my black and white printer. There's some more books. There's my color printer. And I used to have a whole lot more computers in here. I did tone them down. I love technology. I love learning new technology. But this is a hub right here. This is where I do a lot of my planning for the day, my calendars, and just mindset. A lot of my calendars are on paper. They're on the computer, but they're on paper. I am a paper person, so that's just kind of the way I roll. I've, come from that generation, I guess. Up there are paintings from another artist that is my favorite artist. That's Cheryl Wilson, daughter-in-law. And you can see there's my inspiration under my blotter. I have a lot of paint on my blotters. My favorite color is my pink. I actually leave it there because that's just a reminder of me. I use a lot of pencils. I always have. Yeah, this computer right here is where a lot happens. Blotter's got a lot of resin on it, etc. There's some of my books up there that are my organizing books. More books up there. So this is the room where a lot of my thoughts get generated, a lot of my ideas on my blogs, a lot of my ideas on my YouTube video. So I write them down. So when I go downstairs and start working on my art, I have a plan. When I do my art, I have no plan. But there is a plan before I go down there. So the mindset is set for the day a lot of times in this room. And usually my art studio cat is right there sleeping. She is still in the other room. It's chilly this morning, so she's still in the other room, curled up, staying warm under the covers. So next I'll show you my art studio. I haven't done a video of my art studio in a while, and it stays the same in a way, and a lot of times it changes depending on work that goes out, work that comes in. And so I thought I would do a short little video. Here's one of my work areas where I work with the easel, and I have a palette right there made out of marble. I do use palette paper, but a lot of times I love just to pile it on my marble, or I have glass palettes, or even the wooden ones I have down there under the easel. But this is an area that I work when I do on the easel. Over there again, I have another marble palette that I use for my paint. There's a lot of my large paint brushes. I have a nice window light I can open. When I'm in here just thinking about what I'm doing or working on my table, a lot of times I just leave it closed. So I have a lot of inspiration things up on the wall. I love my wind chimes. They blow when the heat comes on. There's some empty canvases I have to fill up, and my palette knives. I have quite a few. That's just a small bit of some of my metal ones. There's some more of my art books. I showed you the ones upstairs. There's ones I grab, Joan Mitchell especially, and use those when I paint. There's some more down there, my books that I like to use, inspiration books. And as I pan around, there's the computer I use for, a lot of times I'll answer emails down here, or I will just check out doing some editing, or I go live from here. You've seen me do live videos, so a lot of times I'll go live from here. Down there are a lot of little pieces of paper that I put in my collage, my mixed media. There are a lot of my paints. There's a lot of my papers down there. I love to do the paper, color paint on paper. So there's different sizes down there. A lot of my paints, my high flows, and then of course my fountain that I use a lot. It just gives me inspiration. Up there are a lot of my tissue paper and collage paper, again, for my mixed media. As I pan around, I have a very large work table. If I do flat, I do like to drip paint a lot. So I will use the table to drip the paint and turn the canvases around. There's an iPad there. When I go live, I use that iPad to read comments if I'm at the table. Over here is a little cart, and those are my alcohol inks and my different heating tools, hair dryer, actual heat tool, and a heat gun. There are some mark making utensils down there, some rollers, a lot of handmade tools. This is one of my favorite shelves that I love to go to. A lot of my mark making tools, my pencils. There's some of my art graphs, bars. I just love those. Then as you move over here, this is a little just a stand. I keep a lot of my art journals down there. I will pull them out and try to start my day in an art journal. And there's my phones and my plugs for a lot of my cameras that I use. Here's another spot that's well used. There's my plein air brushes. They're hard to find nowadays. I can't even find them online. I look periodically to see if I can find them, but they're very long brushes. And so I did do a video where I show how to make brushes. So here's some more of the the heavier golden paints and several different types. And then there's some liquid type paints and bottles. And there's where I'll watch I'll play the music or watch some YouTube videos. Over there are a lot of my very large paint brushes. I have quite a few. Look at this big one. That's when I work on a really large project. This year, almost exactly this time next year, I did 2 very large commissions. Back there are my stands for when I do my videotaping. There's my red rosin paper. Again, this is a look at a lot of my watercolors, color pencils, and all those things. A lot of the mark making tools are down there. And then my glues, and I have a ton of stuff. Behind this painting is a lot of my molding paste, my stucco, glass beads, gels, and there's a whole bunch more. I use these palette knives a lot myself, but then I use a lot of them when I have classes. And there's some tube paints there. Then up above I have a big bucket of sponges, a big basket, and then over there are those are the foam brushes, and then I have sponges over there. And there's some smaller works that are work in progress. I have empty canvases up behind those paintings. I always burn a candle. Here are a lot of my pastels and my oil sticks. These are some of my newfound joys right here, are these wooden pencils. I really love them. There's some of my smaller brushes. I'm not very good with my brushes. I'm a mess with brushes, so I tend to have a lot of them. This card over here has a lot of my tube paints too, and then my spray bottles. And the spray bottles have the round bottoms have alcohol in them, and the others are water. And there's a couple different styles of the spray. Some are fine mist, some are a little bit more of a direct mist. There's some more of my markers down there, my Posco markers. And I love this little shelf over here. This has, let me turn a light on. My woodies are over there in the corner. They're beautiful. China markers, my graphites, some charcoal, mark making sticks down there, Q-tips for making marks down there. That little white tin in the bottom is my idea. If I get stuck, I grab that, grab one of the idea papers out, or just spread them all out and just look for one. Another one of my favorite tools is this. I actually got this from Art to Life, and I keep this clean. I mean, it's hard to, but I clean it every time. But this was given to me, it was an overseas, it was given to me from Nicholas Wilton's group when I won something, and so I treasure that. Can't always burn candles. So this is my art room, and this is where I spend a lot of time, other than my room upstairs where I do the typing and thinking, and but this table right here is where a lot of my art pieces get generated. That, and then the easel, and then I have a lot of these round lights for when I am taping. So this is my art room today. It pretty much stays the same. A lot of times it's very messy, but it's somewhat neat at the moment because I'm getting ready to start my painting for the day. So I wanted to start my day in the art studio just doing some journaling. And the way this was captured is backwards. I'm not doing this with my left hand, although I do a lot of times with my left hand. But this is the right side of the paper with my right hand. But anyway, you get the idea. Art can be looked at in any view, so that's okay. But as I normally do, I always start with either a graphite or charcoal or something. And many times I'm grabbing a watercolor, a liquid watercolor. It is just very light, transparent, and it kind of just gets me started. It, as they say, activates the page, and a few drips can go a long way. A lot of times I will dab out a lot of the color just to keep the very light background. Here I just dabbed some of the color. Now this won't be a finished painting. This will just be a first layer. Many times I will go back and add other paint to it, or I will add papers, collage, or just different things to it. I'll add letters or graphite or charcoal. I don't know what I'm going to add. I don't think when I'm doing this. I just loosen up, and this is just a way I don't judge myself. I don't pre-think. I don't get mad at myself for not creating something beautiful. I just create. If by chance it turns out to be something that I really like and I feel that I can put it in a frame and sell it, I will actually pull that sheet out and do it. But I love to keep paintings that I have done without a lot of pressure, a lot of thinking, because it just helps me take some of those painting ideas into a larger painting. There I've added some carbon black, and just to contrast, I mean, black is very bold, but that's what I'm doing here. And now I'm scraping the skewer into the wet paint. The paint is very thin, so it dries pretty quickly. So the skewer, there's not a lot of thickness for the skewer to make a mark, but it does add some light scrapes. And I do this in my larger paintings with the thick paint, so I just do it with the thinner paints. Using my fingers, I always love to use my fingers, and there I did. I'm using high flows and mixing some of the high flows together. It's the golden high flows. I will many times start with a opaque, higher, thicker paint, and then go with a transparent high flow. This time I'm just using all basically the golden extra fluid paints. Is just what I felt like doing. So as it is getting to the point where I'm going to have to dry it, I just keep adding a few more colors here and there, and at some point I will have to put it to the side and either start painting on a canvas or grab another book. I have probably about 12 books that I grab and paint on, and just depends on what I'm in the mood for. So these colors are not normal colors I might use together. I love pink, and I guess that's why. I grabbed the yellow, and I thought it was too intense. So you see me tone down a little bit the yellow, because the pink seemed to be high toned, and so did the black. So I'm just bringing in some of that yellow after I've muted it down with some of the white. And I'm loving the yellow. Of course I cover it up, but I'm loving that yellow. I could have stopped about there and let it dry and then gone to the next layer, but I'm in the mood just to keep playing. So I did a bold statement there by adding white and black because it's totally going to take over. When you do the high flows, many times you get like a light webbing, which is pretty, especially if you do like blue and white. In this particular painting, you'll see that I will blot out some of that, but I do like the gray look that the white and black, it immediately mixes together. And there I go with my fingers again. I love putting my fingers in the paint. So I'm not judging, I'm not thinking, I'm playing and just letting the paints do what they want. And so there's the painting, first layer. So I'm going to put that to the side and go on to the next painting. On this one, I've actually started with a page that I have already been using in another book. So I'm just taking my graphite and I'm just drawing into the painting while it's dry and just writing words. Not quite sure what's going on with my camera there, but it seems to be floating in and out. But we'll see how this goes. So I'm adding at this point some mixed media. I love lettering, I love words, so I'm grabbing some of my words that I had printed out. A lot of my papers are handmade. I just take either typing paper, drawing paper, or rice paper, tissue paper, light paper, and I will just sit with a glass of wine, watching a movie, or just sit down in my art room and draw. And sometimes then I will even copy what I've done. I'll do lines, I'll do dots, and therefore I have my own mixed media, and then I'll copy. Now what you see in my hand there are papers, drawn papers, where I have cut them up, and actually there's another video on them where I just start through a process of making marks on pieces of paper. And I go through anywhere between 6, 9, 12, however many I have laid out. And I just start making marks. And there's kind of a method to my madness. And then I will use those papers now in paintings or papers like this. And again, these may just stay in my journal for me to look at, to be inspired, because I get inspired by looking at the little pieces of paper there that I have painted on. To me, it's enjoyable to see them. I mean, I hadn't looked at those papers in a while, and I enjoyed that orange. And I put that orange because I'm working there with some complementary colors. So I'm adding that in and looking at it. Could have stopped there. If I wanted more minimalistic, I would stop. But I just keep adding because I don't know where this is going. I took the inspiration from the spiral on that one piece of paper that I had and just added a spiral into the actual painting there. So again, I could stop at any point, or I just keep going. So I'm going over to the paint that's on, actually that's a piece of a palette paper, because lately I've been using palette paper sheets, and then I can use that back again in my painting as collage. So I'm just adding more paint, very thin, so the scrapes are not going to be that dynamic. Now I'm adding some blue, but you see that I go back and I don't really like the blue. The blue is a nice complement to that orange over there. I could have added maybe more blue to pop this out with that orange, but I'm looking at it and I just say, okay, I just don't like the blue, but I like the, you know, where the painting's going. So I just cover up the blue. And this is at your discretion, what you want to do in your paintings. You can keep going on paintings, you can stop, paint over things. This is where you don't have judgment. This is where you just play and you just enjoy. So this is basically a day in the life of what I do as an artist. I may not always spend as much time as I'm spending in my journal, but other times I will spend a lot of time in my journal, go have a salad for lunch, and then come back in the afternoon and tackle starting a painting. Or I will use the journal inspiration if I'm stuck on a painting and I just need to loosen up and, as they say, get out of my head. There again is another sheet, and like I said, I normally don't do this many, but I just felt in the mood today to do it. So I'm grabbing the collage paper, a bunch of the papers I made some time ago, and I like the way that it's bringing out the different pinks. And I tend to use a lot of pinks. I tend to use a lot of the quinacridone magenta and the titanium high flow whites together. So I'm just adhering that down with a medium gloss gel. And I'm not quite sure if I remember what else I did in this painting, but I'm at the point where, okay, I've done 3. Let's kind of see where this takes me, and at this point I may soon take a break and go on to a larger painting. Whether that's going to be on my table or if it's going to be on the easel, I'm not sure at this point. Grabbing some more of that paint that I had left over there and just making marks again on my journal. Since the paint is thinner, it dries a lot quicker. And what I'm doing, I'm just kind of looking through the journal and just getting inspiration. And, don't know where I'm going to go from here. So anyway, thank you for watching. Then I realized I went back to the very first page that I did and added some marks into that page. I'd forgotten I'd done that. So I added my collage in there and spending a lot of time in my journal today. This is, again, just a process that I do where I don't judge myself. I just enjoy, and I'm thinking about colors. A lot of times I'll use it as a color study, but I hope that this has been somewhat helpful to you to understand how to use your journal pages and to get you inspired to have yourself a process in your art room to play and do so freely and to enjoy. But one thing I did here, my brush was very dirty and I went with it because it just muted the paper down into it. I could have, and you'll see me with the paper towel, rub some of that off, but I actually kind of enjoyed the muted look that I created. But back to the process here, I wanted just to show you what I do in a typical day. And I'm going to try to post more of my actual paintings and how the process I go through painting from like a blank canvas into a finished painting, because a lot of times that is something that is always of interest to me when I look at other artists. So just watch me finish this one, and I hope this has been helpful, and thank you for joining me if you stayed to the end.